Good evening and welcome to the 2025 Student Government Association Presidential Debate. My name is Parker Orr and I'll be your moderator this evening. SGA voting opens up a week from today and closes next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Tonight's debate will help voters decide on who they should give their support to. Participating tonight are two candidate teams. We have Mohammed and Teobistia Berhanu versus Keegan Baker and Elizabeth Hart. Each team will give a brief opening statement, followed by questions from the student media. Later, we'll ask questions garnered from student media social media accounts and audience feedback. We'll conclude with closing statements. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to questions and 30 seconds for rebuttal. Our timers will signal yellow when there's 30 seconds remaining, and red means time has expired. We're live on KYOT TV and Coyote News' YouTube channel. Be sure to follow along during tonight's debate and submit any last-minute questions you have for the candidates on social media. We'll start our debate with a 90-second opening statement from each team. A coin toss was held prior to the event, and Mohammed and Teobistia Berhanu will lead off the discussion. You guys can take the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to first of all thank Parker, the Cross Media Center, for hosting our debate, and of course to Keegan and Ellie for being here. My name is Mohammed. I am a junior majoring in political science with a minor in media and journalism. I'm a current SGA senator, and I work for the Opportunity Center, and I'm involved in other areas on campus.
Hello everyone, my name is Teobistia Berhanu. I'm a double major in political science and international relations. I am pretty much involved here on campus. I serve as vice president for ASA and I work as an RA.
Our campaign focuses on three core pillars: belonging, success, and accessibility, and we look forward to sharing more details about that for you later.
So tonight we're excited to answer your questions and to talk to you about how together we thrive.
And then Keegan and Ellie.
Hi everyone, my name is Keegan Baker.
My name's Ellie Hart.
We just want to first start off by thanking everyone, either you are in person or watching online. We're about to have some very important discussions, and it's very important that the student body is informed about them. We just want to first start off by explaining or introducing our three main pillars. These pillars have been with us throughout this campaign and will lead us into our term in office, hopefully. They include safety and accessibility, advocacy, and innovation.
That is what inspired our slogan, Forward Together, all about moving USD toward a better future for all students.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. And then moving on, we'll begin with questions from USD student media groups. The first question will go to the Baker-Hart administration. What specific issue do you plan on tackling first if you're elected as president and vice president?
Yeah, so we have a couple of topics that we've been campaigning on and some issues here on campus. But most importantly, it's transportation here in Vermilion. Being a student here can be difficult with transportation issues. Vermilion's a very small town compared to other cities across the U.S., so transportation can be difficult. We first want to expand USD Safe Rides. USD Safe Rides is a bus shuttle that runs on Friday and Saturday nights to take students from wherever they are in Vermilion back home to wherever that may be. So we want to expand that to more high traffic areas or times that it's in demand, such as Dakota Days or other weekends such as that, where students are in unsafe situations, and we really just want to help them out in any way that we can. We also want to have a dedicated fleet vehicle going along with transportation here. Many students may not have a vehicle here, so getting to the Sioux Falls Regional Airport can be difficult for them, and they may catch themselves getting into cars with people that they don't know. So just really helping them out and having that fleet vehicle. We want to market this early so it gives students optimal amount of time to plan their plane tickets home to wherever that may be.
Thank you. And then we'll ask the same question to the Mohammed and Berhanu.
For us, one of the key areas that we're going to be focusing on in our administration is making sure that SGA is closer to the student body and making sure that our SGA senators are more out there with the student body, because one of the biggest things we want to focus on is connections, because we believe that connections build trust and that makes us stronger, and that's one of the key areas we want to focus on.
So there's two more areas that actually helped us come up with the pillars as well. The first one is sexual assault prevention. We believe that sexual assault prevention has to be a thing on campus, so we've researched a lot about it. And the first thing we've found was that an initiative that has been successful in other schools like University of Texas, Austin, and that's a bystander intervention program called Be Vocal. In that program, it's technically that students on campus and faculties have to be aware of this prevention method, and the whole campus will be vocal about it, and it'll be easier for us to reach match audience as well. The other one is career development. In career development, we've talked to two departments, which is the international department and also the local department. As a political science major, I've seen a lot of people easily interact with career development opportunities, so we want to make that happen for every student here in USD.
And as first-generation students, for us, this is a very personal thing, and we want to make sure that people have connections on campus, and connections are going to be key to your success in the future, and that's one of the things that we're going to be working on.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our second question. What decisions will SGA ask the student body for feedback on before a final vote? And we'll start with the Mohammed Burhanu's administration.
For us, I believe that having conversation with student leaders is going to be very key and critical. One of the things that we want to introduce is a student advisory board, which is going to be meeting with student leaders, Greek chapter leaders as well. And that is one venue we're going to be using to tackle some of the issues that are going to be coming up, because we are not going to know everything that's happening on campus. So it's going to be very critical to talk to student leaders and stakeholders as well to make sure that we're making SGA and the campus a better place for everybody.
Thank you. And then we'll extend the same question to the Baker Hart administration.
One of the reasons why I think Keegan and I are a really great team is I started my own student organization. So I have a little bit of a better understanding on how the budget process works, what it's like to submit exemptions, everything that student leaders go through. I've also served on the Dakota Days Committee, and I'm the president of Panhellenic Council. I think that has given me a really great understanding of how student orgs function, and I think bringing that knowledge to SGA will help to have more student leader input. I think Keegan and I are also dedicated to meeting students where they are, going to different events, talking to students. They shouldn't have to come to us to hear for us to hear their concerns. We want to go to them and meet them where they are.
I think that just really helps us to make a decision before it finally goes to a vote. Of course, exec for SGA does not have a vote. It, of course, goes to the senators first, and they're the ones who vote on it. So we just want to bring those conversations that we have when we meet students where they are. One thing that comes to mind is any of our initiatives. At the end of the day, it's not just up to us. It is truly up to the student body. So all three of them is something that we need to have those conversations first before we can bring it to a final vote.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our third question. How do you plan on cooperating and communicating with the Board of Regents when it comes to campus and student issues? And we will start with Keegan and Ellie.
Yeah, so it's really important to have these relationships with the Board of Regents, with the state legislature, and that's something that Ellie and I already have existing. With Ellie having time interning with the state legislature, we have those connections. And what's really important with having those connections is having a free flow of conversation. As SGA president and vice presidents, we need to be the ones reaching out to those people, reaching out to the regents with the BOR and the state legislature, as well as faculty here at USD to have those conversations and just have that trust and honesty between both parties is what's really going to help with those relationships.
I think one of the things that makes a great SGA president and vice president is a knowledge of how the policy process works. That's something unique that Keegan and I bring to the table, and we are really excited to hopefully be able to help you with.
Yep, and then we'll move the question on to Mohammed and to Obistia.
Perfect. One of the things that I think separates our campaign is that for us, we've already developed these connections with faculty and students and administration, because for us, throughout this campaign, we want to ensure that the things that we're proposing are attainable. And so we've had conversations with President Gestring, with Dean Fitzgerald, to make sure that the policies that we have are things that we can actually accomplish. And on the Board of Regents, I think developing a strong relationship is going to be critical to moving and advancing the needs of our student body. And for us, and for me personally, I think the work that I've already done in the state has put me in a position to make sure that we have connections with the BOR as well.
So ultimately, if given this opportunity to lead in this position, we would like to make as much as positive change here on campus, and but also at the same time, we want to be honest, and we want the student body to know everything, because the last thing we want to do is overpromise and underperform.
Thank you so much. And then, sorry, we forgot about this process. So 30 seconds for rebuttal after each response. So we'll probably start that right now where you guys can each do the 30-second rebuttal. Sorry about that, everybody. Lights got a little too bright for me. So we'll start with Baker Hart's rebuttal, and then you guys can rebut after them.
Of course, echoing what's already been said, just transparency is going to be very important moving forward, especially with the possibility of our tuition going up next year. Just having transparent conversations with students and student leaders just to get the word out on why that is happening and what we can do to help students out. Transparency is going to be very important moving forward, especially with possible changes that are making students very uneasy right now.
Thank you, and then we'll hear your guys' rebuttal too.
I think this is one question that we all agree on in making sure that we're building relationships and having stakeholders are going to be critical to advancing the needs for our student body. I think we agree with Keegan and Ellie, and so yeah.
Yeah, building this connection with campus leaders and hearing out people and being transparent with the student body as well would be a great move for us to start a connection and then going to higher agencies as well.
Thank you, and then we'll move on to our fourth question. What changes do you have planned for Senator and SGA involvement on campus? And we'll start with Mohammed and Tiubisia.
I think on our platform, we are making sure that SGA is closer to the student body. I think one thing that we keep saying to students is that we want SGA at the heart of the student body. That means pushing our senators to get out of their comfort zone, and it's actually something that senators want to do is to be there with the student body, because how are we going to understand what students are facing if they don't even know they're SGA senators? So making sure that we're out there and going to the students and understanding their needs is going to be very critical, and that's what we propose, and I think it's a unique thing that our campaign proposes that they do not.
And just to add on this point as well, when we first started our campaign was we started it with like going to a lot of students. We've went to a lot of orgs. We've talked to a lot of students. We've talked to a lot of student leaders, and we've tried to make sure that we understand the problem from different perspectives, not just our perspective. And then that's how we came up with our strong pillars as well. So I think this is a good chance and a good start to connect with the student body as well and the student government association.
Thank you, and then we'll move on that question to the Baker Hart administration.
Something that's really special to me with SGA is that it's a group of students who are already student leaders that are very involved on campus, and that's what makes SGA so achievable and being able to get stuff done here on campus is because they know what a broad range of students need and want throughout the student body. One nice thing that has been very nice throughout our campaign is just being able to have discussions with different organizations such as International Club and PAVE, just to have those conversations that are open and honest on what they need from us, as well as how we can partner with them to help them out. And one thing we talked about with them is just wanting to continue these conversations. We want to have these discussions that are open and honest, so we truly know what the students need. And it goes back to what we said earlier, just meeting students where they are. That's meeting students at the clubs and the organizations that they're heavily involved in, something that they already feel passionate about, and hearing from them there where they're most comfortable.
If we're elected, we are dedicated to cultivating a culture where senators want to meet students where they are. And we proudly believe that we want to do that as well. And we've had an amazing time this campaign, getting to meet lots of students from lots of different organizations.
And then we will start with Mohammed Burhanu's rebuttal.
So as I mentioned earlier, starting our campaign, talking to the student leaders, we were able to go to the majority of student orgs here on campus. We were able to have a delightful conversation, starting from International Club, African Student Association. We went to PAVE, we went to ISA, we went to Nepali Student Association, and we tried to meet as much as the beautiful cultures here in USD, and we tried to be more like to reach out the broad campus community as well. So during this time, we've seen that thank you.
And then we'll move on to Baker Hart's rebuttal.
So when we say that meeting students where they are, it's so important because having conversations where you just come up to them and business casual and a name tag, it really puts those students in an uneasy position. When you meet them where they are, it just makes them more comfortable. We're just students talking to students and learning how we can help them. Also, when we talk to the specific orgs, we aren't just talking to them on what those orgs need, but it's also talking to them on what the students that are a part of those orgs need. Whether that's with housing or career planning or anything, it really just helps us talk to them.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our fifth question. Are there any issues within the Vermilion community in which you feel that SGA should have a voice? And then we'll start with the Baker Hart administration.
I think an idea that Ellie and I have talked about that we've learned from other schools doing this, such as Iowa State, is they have a joint city council meeting and their student government association once a semester. So it's just a time for both groups to really come together and talk about what we need from each other. So I think starting that's going to be very helpful with these conversations and get them started, whether that is with property and renting and all of that stuff that affects students who live off campus, as well as road construction and looking at how population changes when there's students here on campus. The city of Vermilion also needs to know how we affect them, and we need to know how we affect the city of Vermilion as well.
Thank you. And then we'll move on that question to the Mohammed Bahanu administration.
Yeah, so one of the things that I have like everybody understands about Vermilion is that there is food insecurity. And through working with Charlie's Cupboard and volunteering there, I know that we also face that on campus. And so making sure that we're working with the city of Vermilion and we're working with Charlie's Cupboard to ensure that we're addressing both campus in food insecurity and addressing the wider community's issues with food insecurity as well. So that's one of the things that I want to work with the Vermilion City Council and the mayor's office to ensure that we're addressing this issue.
The other thing we talked about was safety. I think the city of Vermilion do a good job with safety. It's a good city, safe city, but also here when we talk about USD, there are some places and the university that actually like some light things, and we've talked with President Gestring about it as well, and we will work hard to make sure that the safety on campus, that campus lighting and everything is not just a promise or a dream, but that can actually happen here on campus.
Thank you. And then we'll move rebuttal, starting with Baker and Hart.
I think it's really important to echo what their campaign said. We aren't just trying to help the campus here and the students, but also helping the community here in Vermilion as well. That's why when we have these conversations, life here changes for Vermilion residents drastically when 10,000 students move into their town. So being able to talk with them and to bring up what is facing students is also going to bring up what is facing residents as well. So when we have those conversations, it will help the residents of Vermilion as well very much.
And then rebuttal from Mohammed Bahanu.
And one of the other things that we really want to work with the Vermilion City Council is making sure that we're pushing for private-public partnerships when it comes to specifically housing, because we know that on campus, housing is one of the biggest issues that students face. And so making sure that we are working with Vermilion to ensure that we are protecting students and are having agreements that are fair to the student population and not making sure that students are not left to the dust when it comes to housing. We want to make sure that we're pushing for these partnerships so that we can have housing solutions.
Thank you. And then that's all for our student media questions. We'll take a quick break and be back with social media and audience questions. Stay with us.
What does the group think?
Perfect, thank you.
We think a strength is their brand recognition.
This is Zoe, and you're listening to Afternoon Rap on KAOR 91.1 FM. This is my next selection.
Hey Sally, come check this out.
I like it. What if you try this?
We're out.
What did you think of your performance today?
I believe I did well. I achieved what I needed to do for the team. The team actually functioned the way we needed to. We did our 111th and we were able to make plays.
Hey. Can I talk to you about something?
Of course. Is everything okay?
No. Something really bad happened to me. Why did you go there alone? How much were you drinking? Are you sure you weren't encouraging it? I am so sorry that happened to you. It was not your fault.
Okay, 1 minute.
It took so much courage
Yep.
for you to tell me that. And I'll be here for you in any way that you need.
So sorry.
Every day, 37 people die. Every 79 seconds, someone is killed.
Love y'all. I'll see you later.
2 out of 3 people will be impacted, and this could all be prevented. Don't drink and drive.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the 2025 Student Government Association Presidential Debate. We'll continue with questions gathered from the Volant and Coyote News' social media accounts. And then we will start with the Baker Hart administration, since we started with Muhammad Banu. Brooke Rosen from Coyote News' Instagram asks, how have you shown support for students before beginning your candidacy?
I think that's a really great question. I think one way that we have shown support for students before we declared our candidacy is through the leadership positions that we have both held. I'm currently the president for Panhellenic Council, and I have had an amazing experience working with both Greek leaders as well as faculty to enhance the Greek experience. I also started my own student organization, and I have filled bathrooms in the MUC, in the library with free menstrual products for girls in need. I also serve as the Pi Sigma Alpha Honor Society co-president. I think that's another example of how I have dedicated my life to, or I guess dedicated my time at USD to serving students.
Yeah, I'll kind of focus on more on an SGA standpoint. I've served on SGA since I got here as a freshman senator. And just being a senator, you're able to vote on different initiatives and budgets and also hear students when they have concerns or other different resolutions that are here to help students' lives. And now being on exec, I've been able to see it from a different standpoint and seeing how those initiatives are actually put into action.
Thank you. And then we'll move on the same question to the Muhammad Buhari administration.
Yeah, for us, through our leadership experiences and personal experiences, we've been very proud to help students. One of the things that I've been very proud of as an SGA senator is one, I took the initiative to be there with the student body and go out there, and people got comfortable with the idea of coming up to me with issues that they were facing. And one of the things that I'm very proud of was making sure that students know what the Student Emergency Fund is, which is if you're going through something that is really a tough situation, it's there for you. And I made sure that students have access to those, and making sure that also if you're facing food insecurity, that you know that there's resources for you, like the 20 meal swipe through Charlie Cupboards as well. So I'm very proud of making sure that students have access to resources on campus. Campus is one of my proudest moments.
Through my time in USD here, I served as a vice president and also as an event coordinator, and then as a planning committee for ASA. We've shown how ASA, or African Student Association, here on campus can actually be a big thing, and the jobs that we can do. The other one, my biggest proud achievement, is being an RA. I was able to interact with students in different labels, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and I was able to help students get their needs met. And I was able to interact with a lot of housing problems here in USD, and I'm proud that I was able to help youths achieve their dreams.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to rebuttal from the Baker Hart administration.
Something else I'll add is I actually was also able to serve on the iCare team. If you don't know what the iCare team, it is a team of faculty and student representatives dedicated to preventing sexual assault and providing resources for victims. I also started the first Greek initiative for Sexual Assault Awareness Month on my position as Pan-Atlantic Council Risk and Judicial Affairs Chair.
And then we'll move on to the Mohammed Burhanu administration's rebuttal.
Another thing for me as an SGA senator that I'm very proud of is making sure that Danforth Chapel was more accessible for students who have multi-faith and don't know a place that they can go to for spiritual needs. I made sure that Danforth Chapel, through working with the Opportunity Center, we made sure that the benches were movable and more accessible, that students can reserve Danforth Chapel and make sure that there's a place for you on campus where if you need to take time to be spiritual, that you have that on campus.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our second question that we got from students from social media. Aida Desonias asks on Coyote News' Instagram, how is each platform ensured that their goals are attainable in the one-year term that they seek? And then we'll start with the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
I think that one thing I'm very proud of is that through personal conversations with students, we were able to understand what their needs are, and through those personal conversations, we were able to have meaningful conversations with President Gestring and Dean Fitzgerald, and we literally went all of our platform initiatives and said, hey, can we get these things done? And through those conversations, I'm very proud to say that we can get most of the things that we are proposing, we can get it accomplished. So through personal conversations with administration, we have it, yeah.
Thank you. And then we'll ask the same question of Baker Hart administration.
I think the ultimate answer is hard work. It's going to be down to who wants to work the hardest. And if you're willing to get these initiatives that we have planned done, and I can honestly say that Ellie and I have that drive and determination to get it done. Because it's something, all of our initiatives is something that we have very strong feelings that we want to see this done on campus because it's something that's going to ultimately help Coyotes now and Coyotes in the future. So it's our hard work that's going to get it done for us.
And then we'll have our first rebuttal from the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
So one of the main ways that we're gonna make sure that this is not just a promise but attainable is that, as Mohammed said, we've been talking to university administration, but not just that. We've talked to a lot of student leaders as well here on campus, and some of the problems that we face are checking by the bylaws and checking all the needs are also like achievable. They're not actually the things that we propose are not some things that are not going against the law as well. And the other thing that we did was we've talked to different people that are not. Okay.
And then we'll have the Baker Hart administration give their 30-second rebuttal.
Going off of what the other campaign said, it's also through those conversations with faculty and having existing relationships with them already. It's what's going to help us out a lot as well. They have trust in us already with standing, and we have trust in them to help us reach those goals.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our final student media, social media question. Sam Markley from Coyote News' Instagram asks, both of your platforms champion accessibility. What sets your platform apart? And then we'll ask that to the Baker Hart administration first.
I think what sets us apart is not focusing on what we can't do and more focusing on what we can do. Unfortunately, it's just we can't afford, we don't have the funding currently to renovate a lot of our buildings here on campus that are unfortunately not accessible. And we can't do that right now, especially in our administration. So instead, we can focus on what we can do. We can focus on getting ramps in buildings, helping students when they need, if they are in a short-term disability, getting to classes or making those accommodations. So just focusing on more what we can do instead of what we can't do.
It's through our leadership experience and the conversations that we've had with student organizations, student leaders, and faculty on campus that we have developed our accessibility platform so that it is something realistic and attainable.
Thank you. And then we'll ask the same question of the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
I would agree with Keegan and Ellie, but one of the other things that separates our campaign is that we don't only just focus on physical accessibility, we also focus on making sure that SGA is more accessible to the student body. So by making sure that our senators are more out there with the student body, we're being accessible. By making sure that we're creating initiatives like the advisory board that we will be creating and changing our constitutional duties as president and vice president, and making sure that we're talking to student leaders, we're talking to Greek leaders and any other student organizations to address the needs of our student bodies is what separates us. It's through personal conversations and personal connections, because at the end of the day, as I said earlier, connections are going to be key to building trust on campus, and trust at the end of the day makes SGA stronger.
What makes our accessibility platform different is that we're also talking about having resources accessible. Through our work, my personal experience, I've worked a lot with the housing to make resources accessible to students, starting from educational resources to resources that they need to feel safe and they need to feel like they belong on campus. So what sets our accessibility apart would be the fact that our accessibility is connected to the rest of our pillars, which are belonging and the success part.
Thank you. And then we'll have our first rebuttal from the Baker Hart administration.
I think it's important to realize that accessibility runs deep through everyone. Everyone sees it in their everyday lives, and really just helping students who need those in any way that we can. And that goes back to our conversations with student orgs and being able to help students that are in those orgs in their personal lives in any way that we can. And it just comes from having conversations with them, like they said as well.
And then we'll have our 30-second rebuttal from the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
Also, accessibility also needs to be about making sure that we're communicating effectively with the student body about the resources on campus that is available to them, like the Student Emergency Fund, like the extra 20 meal swipe, or making sure that people understand that there's Charlie's Cupboard. If you're facing situations on campus, there's resources for you. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to be focused on, is effectively communicating with the student body about things that are available to them.
And just to add on that, it's also our personal experiences that would set us apart.
Thank you, Tubies. Yeah. And then after those student media questions, we will take a break. And after that, we'll have our audience questions. So feel free to make a short line and have a question prepared. Thank you so much. We'll take our break now.
What does the group think? We think a strength is their brand recognition.
This is Zoe, and you're listening to Afternoon Rap on KAOR 91.1 FM. This is my next selection.
Hey Sally, come check this out.
I like it. What if you try this?
We're out.
What did you think of your performance today?
I believe I did well. I achieved what I needed to do for the team. The team actually functioned the way we needed to. We did our 111th and we were able to make plays.
Hey,
Can I talk to you about something?
of course. Is everything okay?
No. Something really bad happened to me.
Why did you go there alone? How much were you drinking? Are you sure you weren't encouraging it? I am so sorry that happened to you. It is not your fault. It took so much courage for you to tell me that, and I'll be here for you in any way that you need.
Every day, 37 people die. Every 79 seconds, someone is
Can we
killed.
help? Love y'all. I'll see you later.
2 out of 3 people will be impacted, and this could all be prevented. Don't drink and drive.
And we are now back from the break. This is the 2025 Student Government Association presidential election. We will now take questions from the audience. Please form a short line behind the microphones and get in line if you haven't. If you wish to ask a questions, candidates will get 90 seconds and a 30-second chance for rebuttal. And then if a question is asked toward a specific team, we'll have them answer first, and then the other team will get a chance to answer that question as well. Make sure to please keep your questions SGA related.
My name is Jackson Garstecki, and I was wondering if you guys had any ideas on how to improve student attendance at athletic events.
And then we'll start that question with the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
For us, one of the things that we're going to be doing is, I think our Director of Communications, Katie Gellerman, has done a fantastic job with Coyote Chronicles. And so by utilizing Coyote Chronicles, our social media pages, we're going to make sure we're pushing these events out to students.
And then we'll ask the same question of the Baker Hart administration.
Yeah, like they said, the Coyote Chronicle has been a great thing that's been started this year by our current administration, and it's really helped students get to know what's happening here on campus. Also, we have a lot of great organizations, such as campus activity boards, that really does that themselves, bringing kids to the game or students to the game and offering them incentives to come. So that is one of the organizations that SGA supports with funding, so just continuing to fund them and helping them out in our way to help students come to those games.
And then we'll have the Mohammed Burhanu administration for their 30-second rebuttal.
I agree that collaborations are going to be very key to making sure that attendance at athletics are available to everybody and people can go to these things. But I think the one thing for the Coyote Chronicle that I think that the current administration is currently trying to fix is making sure it's available to everybody on campus and that everyone is receiving those emails. But if that's not fixed within the current tenure, I think that's one of the things that we're going to take on and make sure that it's accessible to everybody, and we're using collaborations with student organizations to push these things out.
And then we'll have our 30-second rebuttal from the Baker Hart administration.
I'll echo what's already been said. Collaborations with organizations like Greek Life and PAVE really boost attendance at games, and I think encouraging those collaborations is a great place to start.
Thank you.
And then we'll move on to this microphone.
Hi, my name is Juliana Oltmans, and I was just wondering, what measures do you plan on implementing to further bind the bridges between students and student government to ensure that all voices are being heard?
And then we'll start that question off with the Baker Hart administration.
Yeah, so it goes back to what we've mentioned previously, of just having conversations with different student organizations. We have over 200 student organizations here on campus that reach a broad majority of students here, and it's different student lives and different cultures and just different students in general. So having those conversations with those student orgs is really how we're going to reach students at the heart, and just being able to hear what they need and representing them in that way. As well as SGA senators come from different colleges, they have different degree programs, different paths in life. That's also another really cool way that SGA already does reach those students in different areas on campus, is just having very different senators as well.
I think it's all about, like we said, meeting students where we are, going to the organizations. I think it's SGA's job to meet students where they are, to go to their events so that they can really hear about students' concerns.
And then we'll move that question on to the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
For our campaign, it's about making sure we're making institutional changes to SGA that's actually pushing us to be with the student body. And one of the things that we're proposing is that, one, through collaboration with student organizations, we're going to put campus events together that's about service, community, and bridging the gap between SGA and the student body. This is going to be very critical, for people to understand what SGA is and make SGA more visible to the student body. Because as I keep saying, if we build connections on campus, we build trust, and when we have trust, it makes us stronger.
Just to add on that, the other thing is, as Mohammed said, we will make some change for senators to attend this event. Yes, senators are already attending this event and they're doing an amazing job as they should. But the difference with that is not a lot of people knows that they're senators when they're going to this event. So we will make sure that them being senators is known, so that the students, whenever they have problems, student leaders, when they have problem, they know which senator to go to, and they know who they can actually take their complaints.
Thank you. And then we'll have our rebuttal from the Baker Hart administration.
Many senators, or even all senators, everyone attached to SGA is student leaders in their own way already, in whatever area of campus they come from, whether that's the law school, the med school, Beacon School of Business. Everyone's a student leader already, and they are able to reach the students within their specific area and hear their concerns that way as well.
I'd say we trust our senators. We believe that they are doing the best job to represent the students that they are elected to serve as they can, and we trust that they are going to students and that they have their own responsibility to hear their concerns.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to the Mohammed Burhanu, their rebuttal.
If we're elected, we look forward to working with student leaders to make sure that SGA is at the heart of the student body and that we're collaborating with them to make us more visible. So we look forward to working with you guys.
And yes, senators are leaders. That's why we call them senators. And being a leader is a big thing here on campus. And for us, when we're talking about attending these events, we're emphasizing on connecting all the leaders on campus in different events, which organizations will be holding.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to audience question from this mic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tejas. I'm one of the student leaders on campus. My question is, in your advocacy pillar, you mentioned about increased funding. My question is, where exactly is this funding coming from, and how do you plan to access it, and what are you intending initiatives with it?
And then from here on out, we will be doing 1-minute response with 30-second rebuttal so we can get all of the questions out. And then we will start that question with the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
For us, it's making sure that we're working with university administration and stakeholders like the BOR and the state legislature to make sure that we're bringing funding to campus that is about making sure buildings are accessible to students with special needs. And so for us, it's going to be through collaboration at the end of the day, and pushing the needs of our student body is how we're going to make sure we're doing these things.
And then we'll ask the same question of the Baker Hart administration.
It comes down to the relationships at the state level. We receive a lot of funding, and most of our funding from the state legislature. And having those relationships and really showcasing what USD can do for a student is going to empower the state legislature to offer more funding to us as an institution. So just building those relationships, maintaining those relationships, and making sure that USD is the gold standard of the regental system here in South Dakota.
And then we'll have the Mohammed Burhanu administration's rebuttal.
Yeah, and so I would say it again, that collaboration is going to be very key, and then also building connections here on campus and understanding the needs of our student body is going to be critical when we're advocating for them to the state legislature, to the BOR, and to the governor's office.
And I would say that the current administration is already doing an amazing job, but we will make sure that we're going to keep doing this amazing job so that we can get more fundings and we can build the trust that we need to build with the BOR.
And then we'll have the rebuttal from the Baker Hart administration.
I think that's where policy knowledge becomes really important for an SGA president and vice president to have. Policy knowledge about where we get our funding, what kind of funding is accessible to us, and how we're going to fund the initiatives. And Keegan and I have spent a lot of time thinking about how we're going to fund our initiatives, and we are confident that we can enact everything that we aim to do.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to the question from this microphone.
Hello. First of all, you guys are doing great event, everybody. And my question is, one of like the big things you guys talked about is like collaborations with like student organizations and leadership on campus, like sororities, fraternities, and large organizations on campus. My question is like, how do we fill the gap for students who might not be as involved in clubs and stuff like that? How do we get them to the table to where they feel comfortable they could go to like clubs or even SGA?
And then we'll direct that question to the Baker Hart administration.
That just goes back to meeting students where they're at, having those conversations not just with student leaders and with student orgs, it's also having those conversations with your classmates, with the people who may live on your dorm floor or your neighbors in your apartments. Having those conversations anywhere and everywhere is how we'd reach students who may not be as involved in student organizations.
And then we'll direct the same question to the Mohammed Berhanu administration.
I believe one of the biggest things we can do with this kind of meeting the bridge would be talking to the students from, like, in housing, for example. There's a lot of students that are just freshmen. They don't know about, like, much the things that are happening on campus. So talking to these people using, like, RAs, resident assistants, or people that are responsible in different housings to create this information and to talk to people. And the other one would be in class as well. I know a lot of professors ask if you have, like, you can have 2 minutes to announce if there is anything happening here on campus. So for us student leaders, we'll have to be able to use this time to tell people that don't know about what's happening on campus, and just show up here. It's going to be fun. And then once a student comes and they loves it, then they're going to keep coming again and again. So we can make it a culture in USD.
And then we'll have a 30-second rebuttal from Keegan and Ellie.
Yeah, so unfortunately there's a lot of students here who they can only attend class. They either work a job or they are not able to attend student organizations events. And that's why we really want to push just meeting students where they are, whether that is just in the classroom, whether that's just passing in the muck. Unfortunately, not all students have the opportunity to come to student org events, and so we need to branch out farther than just those events to reach students.
And then we'll have our 30-second rebuttal from the Mohammed Berhanu administration.
Yeah, I agree with meeting students where they are, because a lot of students actually, when they come here, they love their comfort zone, and it's kind of hard to go out and meet new people and go to events. So that's why I would say, like, expanding our connections and our relations with places where students are actually leaving, like residence halls, and being able to, like, post some posters, like, and for RAs holding some programs, we can just advertise those programs while we're holding, like, RA programs, and talking to the students, and, like, also meeting their needs. Some students might not be.
Thank you. And then we will move on to a question from this microphone.
Hello, everyone. I'm enjoying this debate. You all are doing amazing. My question is with regards to accessibility. So I liked how you were practical and you said that you will focus on the things that you can do and not the things that you cannot do. My question to you is, let's say you're elected by, I'm guessing elections happen on February 25th, and you'll probably be elected by the end of this semester. And so my question to you is, let's say you're elected by the end of this semester, and so can you talk to the university administrations on renovating the buildings? Because you said we can just try to build in ramps and stuff, but what about those inaccessible buildings? How will the students be able to attend a meeting like this if it's on the 3rd floor and we don't have an elevator? Like, these are like some important things that I wanted to address.
And then we'll start that question with the Mohammed Berhanu administration.
Yeah, I think that's a very great question. And for me, accessibility has been one of the biggest things that I've worked on as an SGA senator. And so by utilizing the personal connections I've made and the personal connections that we have on campus, and with the university administration, we're going to make sure that we're getting funding to make accessibility a viable thing for everybody on campus, no matter your needs. The other thing that I've worked on to ensure that sorry, I'm lost. But one of the things I've worked on is making sure that Danforth Chapel is accessible. So through my personal experience, I'm going to make sure that we are passionate about making sure that everyone on campus can have access to facilities.
And then we'll direct the same question to the Baker Hart administration.
Like you said, it's very unfortunate that we have many buildings here that are not accessible to all students. And to get those accessible, it's going to come down to funding from the state level. And to have funding from that, it's going to come down to relationships that we have. We need to be able to be in peer advocating for students. Hence why we are students advocating for them, to tell the state legislature, hey, this is what's going on here on campus. This is why we need this funding to renovate these buildings. So it's having those relationships to be able to advocate on behalf of the students to receive that funding to make those renovations.
Thank you. And then to accommodate the rest of our audience questions, we will be just doing our 1-minute responses. So we will move on to our next question. Thank you. From this mic.
My name is Chloe Stevens, and my question is directed at the Baker Hart campaign. One of your guys' campaign ideas under your innovation pillar involves expanding academic and career advising under the Center of Career and Life Design. And as stated by Dean Fitzgerald in our October 22nd SGA meeting, there is already a plan in place to expand the Center of Career and Life Design, including expanding into a new office, which is located in what is now the Charlie store. What is your plan to expand beyond what administration is already doing?
Yeah, it comes down to the conversations we have with administration when they're planning this new office, to making sure that it's truly geared towards students' needs. Coming from faculty, they may not know truly what the students need from that office, so being able to be students within that conversation to advocate for them, saying, hey, we need internship help, we need post-graduation help, so that it's more geared towards what students need and not just what faculty may think that we need, so that we know it's helping all students.
Part of that pillar also was beyond just expanding the actual space. It was about expanding the offerings. So offering things like postgraduate help, help getting into grad school, help with internships. Our pillar revolves around more than just expanding the space, but about expanding the offerings and resources for students.
And then we'll ask the same question of the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
In my conversation with Dean Fitzgerald, I am very happy to see that the university is going to be expanding these opportunities for everybody on campus. And for us, we really want to ensure that what the Beacom School of Business or what the Political Science Department is currently doing is a model for success on campus. So we want to make sure that, as they said, these things are offered, which I already know that through my conversations with Dean Fitzgerald, that the university is going to expand these opportunities to everybody. And so just making sure that what the other departments are doing is a tool for success.
The other thing we want to do is also that we want to benefit not just the whole student body in general, including international students. Some of the event planning we have here, some companies might come, but they don't hire international students. So we want to make sure that the companies are also more inclusive towards hiring international students or anybody with under any visa status as well.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to a question from this microphone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sushant. I apologize if this question is a little bit specific, but stemming from my sustainability major and also representing a lot of clubs on campus, I'm part of a lot of planning out for events that happen in the MUC and large events that happen. So we produce a lot of waste. That's like including utensils, like plastic utensils and stuff. And as you can see, these events hold a lot of people, and that includes a lot of waste now. How would you provide a solution for this kind of solution, maybe in relation to how we can make a contract with Sodexo in utilizing reusable utensils instead, or what kind of solutions would you be able to provide?
And we'll have the Mohammed Burhanu administration answer that first.
I think working with Sodexo, the Sustainability Club, the big thing for us is collaboration at the end of the day. And so we want to ensure that we're collaborating with Sodexo and the Sustainability Club to make sure that we are, one, giving funding that is making sure that we're replacing utensils that are not environmentally conscious to students, and we're finding the funding for them. And it's going to be key to working with Sodexo on this.
And then we'll ask the same question of the Baker Hart administration.
Again, it's not something that we've talked a whole lot about, but it's a great thing to bring up. That's why these conversations are so important. And just continuing conversations like this with Sodexo, with facilities, and just just finding the bridge that's going to be able to make that work and a more sustainable option is just going to be a conversation between multiple parties.
Thank you. And then for our final question, we will go to this microphone.
Yes, my name is Carly Maris. Accessibility was a big topic of conversation in tonight's debate. Both campaigns spoke about the importance of not only physical accessibility, but also approachability. What new channels of communication does each administration plan to use to reach diverse audiences throughout USD's community, and what overarching impact do you plan on having on campus life here?
And then we'll ask that one of the Baker Hart administration first.
Ultimately, the different channels is going to be able to come from trust of the student body to us, and just being able to build that trust and having those open conversations, of course, just to come back to meeting students where they are, having those conversations, and that's something we hope to place the groundwork for and really build up through the future years as Coyotes come here, is just having that trust between everyone and those open conversations.
We have amazing faculty here that we've had the privilege to work with. both before this campaign and throughout this campaign, and we are dedicated to continue to working with university staff to make our goals like accessibility good for all students.
And then we'll ask the same question of the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
I think collaboration with student leaders, and for us, one of the things I have said earlier is that we're going to be creating a student advisory board that's going to include student leaders on campus, that's going to include Greek leadership on campus, and that's really a venue for us to really understand what the issues are for students, and through collaboration and through discussion with faculty and administration, I think making sure that accessibility is a big thing for everybody on campus is what we're going to be focused on, and that's what we offer.
I think we've already built a strong connection with these people, with the university administration, faculty, and all. But also, we want to strengthen and we want to keep emphasizing on those connections that we already have. We will work closely with OMA as well, which they have a leaders program, which they hold, where they hold a lot of events, which a lot of leaders would come. So we want to expand to include more of the student body in general, including Greek life or even some other clubs that are underrepresented here on campus, so that we can have not a new channel, but we can just emphasize on the channel that we already built.
And then we have reached the end of our question and answer time. Each team will now have 90 seconds to give their closing remarks, and we will begin with the Baker Hart administration since our opening remarks began with the Mohammed Burhanu administration.
Yeah, we just want to give a final thank you to all of you for coming out and hearing these important conversations. It's really important that we have the open table like this just to be able to discuss. At the end of the day, all four of us up here just want to represent students in the best way possible and help students out at the end of the day.
I want to thank you to all the student organizations that allowed us to come speak. I want to thank you to everyone that we have met and who have shared concerns with us throughout this campaign. We really appreciate it, and we are honored to be given the chance to serve you.
And then we'll move on to the Mohammed Burhanu closing remarks.
So once again, thank you to Parker, thank you to the Cross Media Center for hosting our debate, and thank you to Keegan and Ellie for taking the time to be here. We all four understand that we want to work to ensure that we're making SGA better for everybody, and for our campaign, it's about making sure that SGA is at the heart of the student body. We focus on it by making sure that we make everybody feel like they belong on campus, that things are accessible to you, whether it's resources or facilities, and making sure that you are successful on campus, whether it's academics, personal, or career. And so we have been honored to be on this stage to talk about the issues with you, and we look forward to earning your support and your trust next week.
Thank you so much for everyone. I've seen a lot of faces here that we've talked to you guys before. Thank you so much for all leaders, including Greek leaders, organizational leaders. We had a really delightful conversation with you guys, and if we're elected, we want to keep these conversations. And thank you for everybody that is here today. It was an amazing time. So yeah, go Yotes as usual.
One more second. And then that concludes this year's debate. Thank you for joining us tonight. And then voting for SGA candidates begins next Tuesday, and it closes next Wednesday at 5 on February the 25th, and it closes on the 26th. And then to cast your vote, look for an email from the Election Steering Committee. For the latest news on the election, follow the Volant and Coyote News on social media, and don't forget to vote. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being here.